Whoa, calm down everybody, calm down. I love myself too. Welcome to Cole's Culinary Corner, where today we have a microphone taped to a steak. Cooking is cool. That's a fact of life. Well, I should say cooking is a basic human function in modern times, which means good cooking is cool, but proportionally, not a lot of Americans can pull off good cooking. With a pretty quick Google search, you can find that depending on the study, roughly 35% of Americans cook a majority of their own meals, except for Food Network, who says it's around 82%. Now, why is that? Why do so many Americans not cook their own food unless you live in Food Network's Mandela-affected reality? Well, of course, there are many contributing factors to that, but for this video I want to focus more on the media side of the equation. The professional celebrity chefs who make the creation of food seem like an insurmountable hill that only gets higher the farther you go up. I'm dubbing this the pretentious food problem. You'd have to be a subhuman troglodyte to not understand the pretentious food problem. It's the mainstream hyper high-class food that's seen as the norm in the food world. It's comparable to average beauty standards being set by supermodels, and mainstream pretentious food has the exact same effect on amateur cooks. This unrealistically high bar for a low entry-level hobby is extremely demotivating and at times demoralizing. What causes this air of pretension in the culinary community though? Well, once again, there's a few aspects. Within the media subcategory of food, I'm going to be looking at a few other subcategories as well. To list them off, celebrity chefs, ingredient use, and the way food is talked about, or the vocabulary of the cooking world. I highly doubt you haven't at least seen one of Gordon Ramsay's TikToks where he insults the cooking of newbies at home. And to preface, I love Gordon Ramsay. I watch a lot of him and have no issue with his tough and mean TV personality. It gives me a hoot like anybody else. You have to look at the picture he's portraying though. The expectation is that if there's a flaw in the food, harsh judgment will come your way. People mistake this TV personality act as a real thing and something that they should take personally when that's exactly what it is. It's an act for ratings. Though I do think critiquing is super important. If they're just starting out, just go a little easy on them, you know. Of course, this isn't just Gordon Ramsay, it's all of the high-level chefs or even, dare I say, recipe websites where people give 10-paragraph essays about the philosophical views on the ethics of chocolate chip cookies. The best chocolate chip cookies? Okay, I'll take a look. Oh my god, Jesus Christ, that scroll wheel is massive. A long time ago when we were living in the Philippines, I accidentally discovered my new favorite way to make cookies. So in 90 bajillion degree Cebu, Philippines, back in fateful 2012, yes, I was trying to bake chocolate chip cookies. It made zero rational sense. I had butter that was literally melted from sitting out on the counter for like 3 seconds. I am laughing out loud over here. How did I do anything? At this point, I don't want to know about the cookie recipe, I want to know what this lady was doing in the Philippines. Hot damn. Today, tonight, whenever it is, if you're gonna eat a cookie, please, for the love of God, make it count. Please make it count. People don't really like to be criticized in something they're starting from scratch in. Like when I first tried to make bagels, I went to the best recipe website I knew, scrolled past their bread master's thesis, made the bagels following the recipe down to a T, but the bagels came out like rubber and identified more as a car tire than something you could eat. But oopsie, I accidentally used iodized salt when I needed kosher, which changed the chemical makeup from bread to R. Kelly's 5-month-old sheets. This falls into the high bar of expectation I mentioned earlier. It's easy to feel discouraged when some of the most famous chefs are popular for their harsh critiques, while they're judging from a predisposition of perfection. Let's look at a less harsh example to level out with the plebeians though. As much as I love Papa, Joshua Weissman is a professional chef. My man could decimate me 8 out of the 7 days of the week, and that's the standard for his food. Professionality. Though Joshua is overwhelmingly user-friendly, sometimes he'll let his nitpicky food habits slip and be like, "Yo, I wash my rice because I'm better than you." And I absolutely love the pseudo-douchey persona he has in the But Better series, but once again, you gotta look at the picture he's painting for all the beginners. The idea that any food that's not high-quality professional chef material is inedible and should be purged from the body like the parents from that one Disney cartoon nobody remembers. There's a more traditional idea that a good chunk of chefs believe in, which is this is the right way to do it. If you don't do it this way, you are incorrect. Which is, I guess, fine on its own, but the issue is whatever the technique is, it'll vary from chef to chef. So it's more of a lose-lose situation for the person trying to learn more. When it comes to entertainment though, you bet I'm gonna whip out some Gordon Ramsay and join the food critiquing circle jerk. But when it comes to wanting to learn more as a home cook, I try to gravitate more towards people like Chef John on Food Wishes, Adam Ragusa, or even Marco Pierre White, the cold that made Gordon Ramsay cry.
This is Gordon.
He remains the only human being, as far as I'm aware,
who's ever made Gordon Ramsay cry.
No, I didn't make Gordon Ramsay cry. He made himself cry. That was his choice to cry.
For God's sake, the man only makes cooking videos to get money from his sponsor, North.
Stop, Paul.
But to boil down what I just said, pun intended, the audience of celebrity chefs generally blur the line between entertainment and realistic cooking that they themselves can achieve. Okay, this one is pretty dense and short. Let me just show you this video.
Beautiful. Look at that. Oh my goodness me. Slice that in half again.
Grilled cheese is a beautifully simple creation, I think. Most of us saw the Grilled Cheese If You Please Looney Tunes song. Grilled cheese is, at its core, a degenerate meal. It's something I'd eat, and I'm the biggest degenerate of them all. Now, I'm not saying it shouldn't be a fancy meal. I'm not saying the ingredients shouldn't be approved upon. Rather, I don't think they need to. Here, watch this.
Oh my goodness me.
You notice that? Here, let me zoom in.
Oh my goodness me.
The cheese ain't melted. It's bricks of warm, fancy cheese. And for those who don't know, when it comes to cheese, there are melting cheeses and there's non-melting cheeses. For example, if you put American cheese in a pan, it'll melt. If you put a nice Parmigiano Reggiano in a pan, it'll release oil instead of melt. Most fancy cheeses are non-melters, aka cheeses that should not be in a grilled cheese, in my opinion. In this recipe, Gordon Ramsay uses whatever fancy cheeses he's using. It's high quality and it's more of a delicacy than cheddar or American, of course, but it doesn't do what it's supposed to do in a grilled cheese. This is a fundamental issue I see in cooking, having rare and expensive ingredients for the sake of having rare and expensive ingredients. Even when they don't work within the context of the recipe. Like, no normal human would look at a recipe for a hamburger and say, oh, I need Kashmiri saffron and microgreens, no biggie. They'd be like, Kashmiri saffron and microgreens, why is it so expensive? To those attempting to get into the cooking world, you don't need all of the fancy stuff, like everybody says. You can get all of the big asses and puff passes just by practicing and getting good at technique. Now, this one is what gets me the most annoyed. This is what I think is the prime suspect. If you can't tell, this video is just me sitting down talking about annoying, pretentious things I hate about the culinary community, and I absolutely despise the vocabulary of the cooking world. Let me just scroll through this whole A to Z cooking vocabulary list and cherry pick some of my favorite words here. Au sec, a liquid which has been reduced until almost nearly dry, a process often used in sauce making. You can just say to reduce until there's little to no liquid left. Cartouche, a piece of grease-proof baking paper that's used to create a lid over a pot or saucepan, usually cut into a circle and placed over a dish with a small amount of liquid. In the instance of poaching, it stops heat from escaping. It can also prevent skins from developing on sauces. You use wax paper to cover a pot as a lid. Effeuiller, to remove the ends and the strings from green beans. Cut the ends off of the green beans. With all of these, notice how over the long term it would save a little to no time just by calling them these obscure names. Now, if you're French, I don't care. It's your native tongue, it's your native language, call it that. But if you're speaking Norwegian or English or whatever language and have to research and study French terms in order to translate and understand these high-class chef cooking videos, I'm sorry, but I'm coming here with bad news. You're in the pretentious food world. Having a whole different language as the norm is something that is absurd. It makes the learning curve turn into a learning cliff, and it makes newbies afraid to come in. You can see this in a lot of hobbies and jobs too, like that people are afraid of going into, like classical music, which uses Italian. And as much as Mr. Puck or Mr. Ramsay would disagree with me, the culinary community and the way it acts and how high up they feel on the chain of command, I think it scares people away more than most other communities. Personally, I love cooking, so I want as many people to come in as possible so I can individually show I'm better than them. But these dudes are just scaring people away en masse, which is, you know, taking the enjoyment away from me. So overall, I think that us in the culinary community need to be more inclusive and not promote these weird ideas that sort of like push people out, and instead make it more of a, you know, group effort that gets people excited to join and not feel like it's some Herculean task in order to simply cook a grilled cheese or cook a pancake. Now, I've sort of run out of things to say, and the tape on my microphone stick is about to fall off, so I'm gonna leave the final words to the top in command, the headmaster of all cooking worlds. Mr. Ramsay, do you have any words you'd like to say?
You fucking donkey!